Hey everyone, this is Brian here, and we are going live again. Today is Wednesday, and I'm a little tired. We had to wake up early to get our kids to school because they were going on a field trip, so I am a little tired, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna try and push through and be as energetic and exciting as I can be. And so, I'm going to give everyone a minute or two to get on here and see what's going on. I got at least one person watching. So other interesting things. So I played basketball yesterday, and it's been, I would say, probably 4 months since I'd played basketball, and my body feels like it's angry at me. Hurting in spots I haven't hurt in a long time. And, it's just not very pleasant. But, I guess that's what happens when you get old. And it'll get better, though. But it is good for me to exercise and do that running. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, let me get all the way back to the top of this. All right, so we are talking about wedding coordinators today. Should you have one? What do they do? Who is this for? Whatever. So this all kind of started. I met with a wedding coordinator yesterday. She is somewhat new. I think she just started last year, and she's just trying to get to know everyone. We are actually working on a wedding together at the end of May. And so she's kind of wanted to get to know me, kind of figure out my process, and kind of tell me about what she does. And then it's got me thinking, I think the wedding that we're working on together, the bride is actually super together and super organized, but she still ended up booking a wedding coordinator, which surprised me a little bit. But we'll kind of talk about that later. So it just got me thinking, do most people need a wedding coordinator? And just trying to clarify some of this stuff for you guys so you can kind of understand and at least see my perspective on it. All right. And again, guys, if you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to drop them, and I will try and check on them when I can. It's always good when people are interactive and giving me feedback on this. So if you already have a wedding coordinator, let me know. If you plan on hiring one, if you think they're a giant waste of time, whatever your feeling is, go ahead and comment on that. All right. So I am not an expert on the coordinating world. I will not lie about that, but I do have a pretty decent understanding of what they do and what they're involved with. And as far as I can understand it, there's basically 3 kind of ways that people do it. And the girl I talked to yesterday only really offers 2 of these. So some people will offer all 3. Some will offer none or just one of them. You never know. So it's just one of those things you want to talk to people and figure out what it is they're offering. And these are very, very different solutions, and it'll be very different what they're doing. So you need to make sure you understand what you are getting and what they're offering. So the 3 different things or 3 different types of way you can hire a coordinator. One being day of. 2 being the month of, or what I would call like the full coverage. So we're going to go through each one of those and kind of see what that covers. And then we will talk about whether or not it's something you need or not. Okay. So the day of coverage is about as basic as it gets. And this means they're really only going to they're really helping you on the day of. So this would be like someone who has most of the stuff taken care of, but they just need some help on the actual wedding day. So they'll really only be there the day of. That doesn't mean that that's the first time you're going to see them or talk to them or anything like that. They will still probably have meetings with you and conversations so they can get a feel for what the wedding is, for who you are, what you're looking for, what's happening on the wedding day. But it's not going to be very extensive. I don't imagine them meeting with you more than 2 times for just the day of. Because, I mean, if they're meeting with you more than that, then it's a much more involved process. and they would probably be charging you more money for that. So they are there on the wedding day to basically make sure everything goes smoothly. So they'll be sitting there in the reception hall making sure everything is set up. They will be making sure that the vendors are showing up on time, that the cake is delivered. They will be the person probably standing at the back during the ceremony and telling people where to line up and when to start walking down the aisle. Later in the day, they will probably be keeping things on schedule and trying to make sure things are moving correctly. And then they just do a bunch of other little things. Like, once you cut the cake, they are sometimes the person that cuts the rest of the cake up to be given to the guests. So, a lot of little things on the wedding day. And again, this is basically all they do. They're just there for the wedding day to make sure the wedding day goes smoothly. And it is a very helpful thing. And this is really good for a lot of people, but some people are needing more, which let's go into the next one. This would be a bigger chunk of help. So they would do everything that the day of coordinator probably does, but then they're also helping you further out. So they are helping you with those like last minute type things. So a month of coordinator will usually kind of make sure the last minute things are taken care of. They will usually reach out to all the vendors and kind of coordinate things with them, talk to them, make sure everything is lined up, and just make sure everything is prepared for the wedding day. And they might help you with some creation ideas, some vision, but at that point, it's probably not going to be a whole lot of that. It's not like they're going to be planning your entire wedding. They may just give you some ideas. I can't even think of anything of like, I don't know, what would you do? Table centerpieces maybe that may still be too late at that point. But not a whole lot of creation stuff, but they're still making sure you're finishing up all the things you need to have done, and they are preparing you for the day and then helping you on the day of. Now, the last one, if you need a lot of help, you probably want the full coverage. So this would be like one of the first people you hire. You might even hire them before you book a venue and book a wedding date, possibly. And they will be there from start to finish to help you with everything. So, there's a lot of coordinators around that do this. So they will actually help you find vendors. They may have a list of vendors that they've worked with before, or you might give them a few ideas and then they kind of reach out to those vendors and set up stuff. But they are much more hands-on at this point. They are doing lots of things for you. They will do a full kind of creation for you. So they will talk to you about what you want your wedding to be like, and they will help you reach that. They will help you, create that vision, that theme, and then help you actually carry it out. So much more involved than all the other two. And they will, in general, take much more of the burden away from you and much more of the stress, and they will take care of most of it by them on their own, So for a lot of people, coming up with all that stuff and finding vendors and figuring out when to do stuff, that's a lot of stress. So they take a lot of that away. I've even had some situations where the bride just says, okay, look, I don't want to deal with any of this. You take care of it and we will be good to go. That doesn't happen very often, but occasionally, a bride will just be like, I don't really want to be in charge of anything anymore. And so you just have total control, and I will show up on the wedding day and then it's all going to be good. But again, that's pretty rare. I don't think that happens that often where they just completely give up control. Okay. So let's talk about pros and cons of this, hiring a wedding coordinator. I mean, the biggest one and the biggest reason someone does this is because they don't want to be stressed out. wedding planning can be super stressful. Most people have no idea what they're doing. They have other things going on in their life, and they just don't have the time and the energy to do all this stuff. So overall, it's going to take away your stress. Now, the amount of stress it removes will kind of depend on what you hired them to do. So if you only hire them for the day of, then the day of stress is all you're going to get rid of. If you hire them to do everything, then most of your stress will be taken care of. They do the work for you. So, like I said, you're not having to do it. You're not having someone else do it. They are taking care of things, which is a really nice thing if you don't want that burden. And a big thing, in general, people in the wedding world, the vendors, are going to have more experience. So a wedding coordinator is going to have more experience at planning a wedding than you or most people. So they're going to do a better job, and they're not going to be freaking out over things and like you would. You may freak out over having to, plan this, and this, but a coordinator's like, that's what I do every day, so it's not even a big deal. They're also going to help you keep organized. So again, they've done this before. They know what you need to be doing, and they will think of it, and they will make sure it is taken care of. The wedding day is just going to go a whole lot smoother because they're going to be there making sure this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. So helps a lot with the organization. This is one of my biggest things about this: responsibilities. Weddings are supposed to be fun for you and for all your guests. So if you're planning the whole wedding by yourself, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to be freaking out. If you're trying to take care of stuff yourself on your wedding day, that's not a good idea. And I've seen people put this on their relatives before, like putting their relatives and friends in charge of it. I just don't understand how they could enjoy the wedding day if they are being forced to do all this other stuff. So it just kind of removes those responsibilities from people and puts it on the coordinator instead. Just so someone else isn't having to do that. All right, so the biggest con is it is money. And weddings are expensive. We all know that. We're not going to hide that fact. So it is an extra expense that you would have to be taken care of. Depending on how fancy they want to go, you may be spending more money to reach that vision that they're having. If they want ice sculptures or a certain type of flower, it may cost you even more money. But then on the other hand, they might be able to find some cheaper options that you didn't even know existed. And then the other way to think about the money thing is, how much is your time worth? How much is your sanity worth? If you would have spent, 20 hours of your life doing this, or 40, 50 hours of doing this, and just been angry the whole time and hated your wedding and gotten angry with your fiance 20 times. How much is that worth to you? How much is that worth to you? Is it worth paying someone else so you don't have to spend that amount of time and not have those headaches and get angry and frustrated? So you just kind of have to decide that. For me, that would be well worth it. I would spend a lot of money to not have to to not have to use my time to plan a wedding and to get angry and those type things. So keep that in mind as well. You are still going to have to spend time doing this. So unless you just completely wipe your hands of it and give them complete control, you still will have to have some time invested. So usually they will be talking to you about things, and usually you will still have to make the final decision on things. So in most cases, a coordinator is not going to completely erase all the time that you're going to have to use for planning. You still will have to do some. All right. I'm talking really quickly like always. So who is this for? I would say in general, if you are a type of person that gets stressed out, or if you're a type of person that just wants to relax and doesn't want to be bothered at all, then I would say this is very much for you. If you aren't super creative, if you're not the person that has like 30 Pinterest boards and you've been planning your wedding for 20 years, you probably want someone who's going to help you out. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not all super creative. I mean, I'm creative in my own ways, but I definitely am not creative in most decorating ways. I would be horrible at designing most things for a wedding. If you are super busy, so I've got lots of people that are full-time jobs, some in college, just busy people. If you're super busy, you don't want to add more stress to your life by having to try and plan a wedding and have a normal job, or, if you're finishing up your doctorate, you don't want to be the person that has to deal with that kind of stuff. Okay. And in general, if you have the money. So, I mean, if you have the money, then you might as well go for it, in my mind. All right. Who is this not for? If you are a complete control freak, if you have to have control of every little thing in life, and your wedding is going to be the same thing, and you cannot let anyone else do anything, you just have to be hovering over it at all times, and you're going to be doing it anyway, right? So why pay someone else to do it when you're going to be so involved and right there the whole time, and you can't let anyone scratch their nose without you telling them it's okay? So if you're a control freak, probably not. Okay, if you don't really care that much about your wedding, or if you don't want something fancy, or if you just, you're not looking for much to be happening, then you probably don't need a coordinator. So like if you're doing just a courthouse wedding, then you definitely don't. If you're doing like an elopement, you probably don't. If it's only like a 2-hour day, it's not going to be probably something you want to spend your money on. And if you just don't have the money, I mean, if money is super, super tight, then you probably aren't going to be able to have a coordinator as well. All right. So as far as if you decide to get a wedding coordinator, wedding planner, here are a few tips that I will throw out to you in a few stories as well. First of all, figure out which one of those 3 things you need. Do you need day of, do you need month of, or do you need the full coverage? And then hire someone just to do that work. I mean, if you don't need all the other stuff, then why pay for it? So that would just be something to think about. Not everyone needs full coverage. A lot of people can handle a good chunk of the stuff themselves, and a lot of people want to be involved in that. So not everyone needs that full coverage. So I'm not saying that everyone should be paying that for everything. And this is my biggest point, and I've had this happen too many times. If you are getting a coordinator, or if you're going to have someone coordinate your wedding, make sure it's a good one. Please don't pick your relatives or friends that have no experience and have no idea what they are doing. This just is stressful for them in most cases. They don't know what they're doing. It screws stuff up. So real quick story. So this was over a year ago, and this has happened more than once, so it's not just one wedding. But I had a coordinator who didn't really talk to me much, was kind of doing her own thing. Things were just happening without me being informed of it. She was more concerned about staying on a schedule than things actually happening. So like during this wedding day, at one point, and I talked to the DJ before, and I was like, all right, DJ, before we do the dances or the speeches or whatever, tell me and make sure that so I need like 5 minutes to set up before it happens. And he's like, yeah, that's cool, man. And so all of a sudden, this is later in the day, in the reception, all of a sudden I see stuff starting to happen, and I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, what, the coordinator just came over here and started like yelling at me and told me to make it happen. So like without her talking to me or letting the DJ talk to me, she just like started some things. And then that same wedding later that night, I'm up on the balcony and I'm doing this really super cool creative photo with a couple. And again, she was kind of rushing things and like almost wouldn't let me do it. And she had brought everyone outside, again, not really even talking to me. And I'm doing this photo. And the next thing I know, apparently she had told everyone to light the sparklers for the exit. and she's yelling at them through the door for them to exit the exit the wedding. I am upstairs on the balcony inside, so I cannot get photos of them exiting. So the good point of that story is I still got the super cool creative photo of them, and it's been one of my favorites. And there was also a second photographer outside, so we did capture the exit, but it was very frustrating to me that the coordinator did not talk to me about this stuff and just went ahead and did stuff without even considering me, or and I don't know. I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think she was trying to be mean, but I don't think she had a lot of experience, and I think she was so concerned with time frames and getting stuff done that she just didn't understand how it all normally works. And again, unfortunately, that has happened to me a few times where I've had coordinators who just were friends of the family, didn't really have the experience, and kind of almost messed things up. And, I was just like, good grief, what is going on? So please do not don't just find some random person to try and coordinate and be in complete control of your day. Oh my goodness, it just makes me, I don't know, can't even talk about it. So, all right, I'm going to see if I can find if anyone's had any. I'm trying to see if anyone has asked me any questions or anything, or any comments or whatever. Oh, come on, computer. Okay, it doesn't appear that anyone has said anything, so I'll just... So again, guys, if you have questions about this stuff, feel free to reach out. I said, my biggest goal is that people will have a wonderful wedding experience, and I just want that to be as smooth as possible. And a wedding coordinator is a good way to kind of help that happen. Again, it's not for everybody, and the full coverage is not for everyone. But in general, I would say that a wedding coordinator is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache, and just make things go smoother overall. So in my opinion, if you can afford it, I would definitely look into it. Okay, guys, I think that's it. I don't see any comments or anything. If you're watching this later, feel free to comment, and I will try and get back and answer those questions. I'm trying to think if anything else is going on that I need to talk about. I think that's about it. So anyway, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. I hope your wedding planning is going amazingly. And if there's anything I can do for you, feel free to reach out. See you guys.